This video is sponsored by FreeCash. More about them later. On the 15th of April 2014, the MV Sewol left Incheon Harbour with 476 people on board. 325 of them were high school students from Ansan, heading to Jeju Island for a school trip. The departure was delayed due to strong fog, and she set sail at 9 p.m, almost 3 hours behind from her initial schedule. This night was particularly calm, even more so now with the fog clearing. Nothing to suggest what was coming. By morning, the ferry was approaching Jindo Island, a stretch of water known for strong currents and tricky navigation. At 8:51 a.m, the ship made a sharp turn. Captain Lee Jun-suk was not on the bridge. A third mate, inexperienced in these waters, was at the helm. The ferry's turn was sharper than usual and it began drifting sideways, then listing to starboard. At first, just a slight tilt, easy to dismiss as the ship riding a wave, but it kept going and the list kept increasing. And within minutes, the MV Sewol was capsizing. At 8:52 a.m, the first distress call came out. Not from the bridge, but from a student below deck. A trapped teenage boy dialed the national emergency number. The crew handed out life jackets, but no evacuation order was given. Passengers stayed below deck, following instructions as the ship rolled further and further onto its side. By the time it was clear this was an emergency, escape routes had become vertical tunnels. 304 people died. The ship never struck anything. No explosion, the hull remained intact. So, what went wrong? The problem didn't start at sea. It started before departure, in the ballast records. The loading plans, the weight calculations that should have been double-checked. Something in those documents was wrong. Something critical had been missed, or ignored. Before we get into how the inclining test actually works, a quick word about this video's sponsor. There's a platform called FreeCash that turns downtime into something useful. You play mobile games, complete surveys, or test apps. Things people already do, and get paid for it. It's straightforward. You pick an offer, play through it casually, and cash out once enough builds up. FreeCash currently holds a 4.8 star rating on Trustpilot. And one important thing, when starting a game offer, make sure app tracking is enabled. Otherwise, your progress won't register. Earnings can be withdrawn through PayPal or gift cards. And for viewers in the US, Canada, UK, Australia, and select European countries, there's a $5 bonus when you sign up and start your first offer. The link is in the description. Alright, back to the ship. To understand what went wrong, we first need to understand and talk about what keeps any ship upright. Ship stability. Why do some vessels right themselves after a turn, while others just keep rolling? Ships are heavy, but weight alone isn't what makes them stable or dangerous. What matters is how that weight is distributed. Load cargo low in the hull and the ship stays steady. But as weight shifts upward or to one side, the balance changes. A ship's centre of gravity shifts constantly. As fuel burns off, cargo gets loaded, and passengers crowd to one side of the deck. Each shift is small, but they add up, and eventually you can push past the point of no return. And once you're past that point, a quick turn, a lifting operation from a crane, or a passing wave can trigger a tilt the vessel can't recover from. So, every large vessel undergoes what's called an inclining test, a physical procedure done in calm conditions designed to find the ship's true balance point. The procedure is straightforward. Remove all fuel and cargo, or at a minimum, document their exact positions. Ballast tanks, if present, stay full. The goal is to test the bare hull. Engineers then put known weights at marked positions across the main deck. These weights are shifted from one side to the other in a controlled sequence. Each movement causes the hull to tilt slightly, just enough to track. They also use inclinometer readings or time-tested plumb lines, simple tools that measure the exact angle of heel after each weight shift. From this data, engineers calculate the metacentric height. It's a direct measure of initial stability, of how strongly the ship resists rolling when it's disturbed. When a ship leans, its shape underwater changes. With that shift, the upward push of buoyancy moves too. Not from where it originally was, but from a new off-center position. That's the nature of buoyancy. It responds to the shape of the ship, but its weight doesn't follow. It continues to pull straight down from the center of gravity. Now, the two forces are misaligned. The distance between those two forces is the metacentric height, or GM. A large GM means a strong righting force. The ship snaps back to upright quickly. A small GM means a weak righting force. The ship responds sluggishly. And if the centre of gravity gets too high, GM disappears entirely. At that point, the ship can't recover from even a moderate turn or wave. That's why we calculate the metacentric height. And during the inclining test, we do it with a simple formula, where W is the known weight being moved, in tons, D is the horizontal distance the weight is shifted across the deck, in meters, delta is the ship's displacement during the test, that is, its total weight in tons, and theta is the angle of heel observed after the weight is moved. Each new movement provides us with a new data point. From these points, we calculate GM directly. It also helps pinpoint where the ship's mass is centered. Then VCG, the vertical center of gravity, tells us how high that mass is stacked, from keel to deck. TCG, the transverse center of gravity, shows how evenly it's spread from port to starboard. Together, they form a three-dimensional picture of the ship's balance. Not just how much it weighs, but how that weight behaves. The inclining test is simple, and that's actually its biggest weakness. The test assumes perfect conditions, calm water, known weights, and accurate tank levels. But ships are built under tight deadlines. That 3-ton cable drum might actually be 3.3 tons. A crane arm sits slightly off-centre. A tank is half full but recorded as empty. Then come the modifications after the test. New radar domes, additional lifeboats, extra equipment. Each change nudges the centre of gravity without anyone recalculating the numbers. The imbalance doesn't show up until the ship is at sea. Wind, current, even instrument error, all of these can skew the results. The vessel might pass the test while already being unstable, but does that mean the test is useless? No, it means that the test is only as good as the conditions it's performed under and the accuracy of the information you feed into it. After being purchased and converted from a Japanese ferry, the Sewol underwent several modifications. New passenger cabins, lounges, and amenities were stacked onto the upper decks. All of it added high above the waterline. Each addition nudged the vertical centre of gravity higher, shrinking the ship's metacentric height and tipping the vessel toward instability. The Sewol hadn't been overloaded. The weight was just in the wrong place. To compensate, the operating company reduced the amount of water ballast carried, removing the very weight that helped lower the centre of gravity. Less ballast meant more cargo space and higher profits. But it also meant the ship was sailing high and meant less stability. When the Sewol began to list, it couldn't recover. The added weight high above the waterline, combined with reduced ballast, left the ship top-heavy and unstable. This is why international regulations require a mandatory full-scale inclining test for every new vessel over 24 meters in length. The test doesn't just confirm your design calculations, it shows you what you actually built. Because when it comes to stability, assumptions aren't enough. You need to measure it.